Did I quit figure collecting? Short answer,
No!
long answer,
No!
Hello everybody, welcome to Nadya Collectibles. My name is Nadya. Thank you so much for being here. I've taken about a 6-month-long break from social media. During my hiatus, I've had a lot of time to kind of think about reasons why people might step away from the figure collecting space. Some of these reasons actually do play a part in my hiatus, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video. Before we get into the rest of the video, I just want to say thank you so much to every single person that's reached out to me during my hiatus, whether that be through my Discord server, my figure collection profile, my Instagram, my TikTok. It means so much more to me than you can understand. I'm someone that tends to isolate whenever I feel like overwhelmed and stressed. So really, it means the world to me, and I'm so appreciative to every single person that watches my videos or that I've just met through the figure collecting space. I cannot say thank you enough. I hope to make you guys proud in the next coming weeks because we got a lot to get through. But yeah, I have not quit figure collecting. I've actually ventured into a couple different types of collecting. So that includes Jellycats and Build-A-Bears. Build-A-Bears I got into first because, as you guys know, I'm a huge Sonic fan, and with the Sonic movie that came out in December of last year, Build-A-Bear released a Sonic Build-A-Bear, a Tails Build-A-Bear, and a Shadow Build-A-Bear. I have Sonic, Supersonic, Knuckles, and Tails. I still don't have Shadow, but instead of Shadow, I have a Strawberry Highland Cow, a Weighted Bear, a Weighted Sloth, a Ladybug, a Pig, Mocha, Mothman, Cinema Roll, Pochaco, Tom Nook, Isabel, 5 Milks, and I think that's it. Holy cope. For the Jellycats, I believe I got into them because I'd seen a discussion on Reddit talking about the differences in quality between Build-A-Bears and Jellycats, and I was like, ain't no way they're that good. I ordered one, and now here we are. I guess they were that good. Both those hobbies were great while they lasted, but honestly, how I felt about collecting these plushies versus how I felt about collecting figures over these last 4 years is not comparable. Of course, my switch to Jellycats and Build-A-Bears is not the entirety of the reason for my hiatus. So instead of just watching me talk about what's been going on with me and figure collecting, let's watch me talking about me and figure collecting while unboxing some resin statues. For today's video, we're going to be unboxing 2 resin statues from DiTaiShe Studio. Both are from One Piece, and that's going to be their 1/3 scale Luffy and their 1/3 scale Zoro. I already have their 1/3 scale Sanji in my collection. I love DiTaiShe Studio. I have their 1/2 scale Naruto in my basement and their 1/2 scale Sasuke in my basement. And then I have their 1/2 scale Marine Kitagawa on pre-order. So yeah, it's good to knock out 2 at once. This is also gonna be the first unboxing from One Piece on this channel, so pretty exciting stuff. We're gonna start with Luffy. Here's the box for Luffy. This thing is massive. I'm gonna have to get the styrofoam out before we can keep talking about the figure collecting space, so let me do that real quick and then we'll get back right to our conversation. So as you guys can probably tell, I'm an extremely impulsive person when it comes to figure collecting. With figure impulsiveness comes bulk orders. With bulk orders comes multiple things arriving at the same time. And since I unboxed my resins on social media, I've ended up with about 35 resin statues in my basement that have yet to be unboxed. Basically, we have about 30 weeks of resin statue unboxings. So the ultimate goal of my channel is to do a room tour. This is the hat, by the way. Because I have those 30 resin statues in my basement that haven't been unboxed, I have this like hurdle in my mind that says you can't do a room tour if half the tour is in cardboard boxes. You know what I mean? I know a lot of my mutuals have actually quit figure collecting, whether that be because of how expensive it's gotten or just because of lack of interest. I totally understand. I actually noticed how expensive figure collecting has... Jeez, really big. I actually noticed how expensive figure collecting was getting when Komi's bunny went up for pre-order. She went up for pre-order for about 38,000 yen back in 2023, and I was like, dang, the prices are not getting any better, are they? And they did not. Dang, he looks so good. It's actually crazy how well they do the men. I know that DiTaiShe also continued their One Piece line and made a Nami and Robin resin statue, but those ones did not turn out well, which is crazy because the face looks perfect. So I'm kind of nervous for how Marine Kitagawa turns out, but fingers crossed she turns out good. But yeah, I just feel like it's almost too expensive to pre-order anything nowadays, which kind of takes away a lot of the excitement about figure collecting. When you pre-order something, you're kind of just chasing the release date, and you can talk a lot more with fellow figure collectors, like share your excitement for a figure on like my figure collections when you're waiting for a figure to open up for pre-order or you're waiting for the release date of the figure that you have on pre-order. When I started collecting figures about 4 years ago, it was more of a risk to not pre-order something and then have it soar in price in the aftermarket than now, where it seems like it's almost more of a risk to pre-order something and then a week later you see that same figure that you just paid full price on sale. You know what I mean? I don't know. I used to pre-order like any and everything on AmiAmi. If I liked it, I pre-ordered it. Lately, I've become a lot more cautious with what I pre-order. Of course, I'm a big advocate for if you want something and you don't care if it goes on sale, then pre-order it. I've been really into like the Annie Mester and Bear Panda figures that have been going on for pre-order, especially the 1/4 scales. I've pretty much pre-ordered every single one that's like under 15,000 yen, because at least with those ones, even if they do go on sale, I don't feel as bad because they were already originally pretty cheap. I've definitely like chilled out on pre-ordering any bunny figures, especially from Freeing, because it seems like 80% of the bunnies that go up for pre-order from Freeing are like over 35,000 yen, which when I started, they were like all within the 20s. So it's a pretty big price hike. And then also, the shipping prices have risen over the years that I've been collecting, so that's not great. 1/4 scales cost a lot of money to ship. For the last year, I've pretty much gotten every single one of my 1/4 scales from AmiAmi pre-owned, because I don't mind damage. Like, I'll get a C condition figure if it's like 20,000 yen, 10,000 yen off of what the retail was. I don't mind. I'd have a figure that like doesn't have a leg if it means I get a discount. I had to move back so you guys can actually like see this. I didn't even realize because I'm so focused on just talking that you couldn't even see the top of his head. I have no idea how this piece goes. I'm gonna take this cloak off because I feel like I can't put the flame effects on. That seems like where it's supposed to go, but it's like not sticking well, I think. Dude, none of these pieces are like fitting well in the hole. Whatever. Oh, this one just has a nail. It seems like this one goes in his arm. Oh, I see. Sick. Oh, okay. I was trying to put this on his head. It's not supposed to go on his head. Ugh. It's just supposed to go over his shoulder. Hello? That doesn't look right. Maybe this is how it goes. Now I gotta put the super scary cloak back on. Oh wait. Oh no! The hat goes over the cloak. No! Let's put the hat back on. Yeah, I'm not touching this anymore. This is scary. Okay, so here's the Luffy 1/3 scale. Looks sick. Awesome. I'm super excited to add this to my collection. It's actually the first Luffy resin figure, anything, in my collection. So, woo! Exciting. Now let's move on to Zoro while we talk about some of the other things that have been going on in the figure collecting space. So here's Zoro's box. So let's get the foam out so we can unbox him together. Fun fact, I actually ordered all 3 of the 1/3 scale One Piece resins from DiTaiShe Studio right after finishing the live action for One Piece. So good. So another thing that kind of changed the figure collecting space for me is re-releases. I have another video on my channel that kind of goes over one of the biggest re-releases that's been done, which is Caroline Yuri's tan version. That's the only re-release that I have in my collection, actually. I love Caroline Yuri so much. At the time I initially got into bunny figure collecting, the 2 main companies that would do 1/4 scales in the PVC side was Freeing and Binding. Freeing always did re-releases. In their case, it was more like bear-leg variants, which gave people an opportunity to buy a more affordable option of the original release of the bunny figure. In Binding's case, though, back when I started, the thing that Binding was known for was not doing re-releases. So the aftermarket for those figures was insane. Back then, you would see Anubis and Bastet going for like 60 to 80,000 yen each. You'd see Caroline Yuri going for like 90,000 yen on AmiAmi pre-owned. Olga Discordia used to go for like 100,000 yen on pre-owned. Chris Aqua used to go for like 100,000 on pre-owned. I remember talking with people on my figure collection that got her for 80K, and back then that was like such a good deal for her. Let's just say I was a victim of that. I was a victim of Caroline Yuri and Olga Discordia and Anubis and Bastet. Oh, which is, I don't know. Back then, those original releases were probably one of the most sought after figures in the figure collecting space. I think at the time, Native not doing re-releases is what kind of set them apart from some of the other figure companies. Obviously, re-releases are inevitable for like pretty much any company. It's not just exclusive to binding, but I know for me personally, I'm a big 1/4 scale bunny figure collector, so binding, doing these recolors, like in 2025 now we have Caroline Yuri's tan variant, Olga Discordia has a white suit version, Anubis and Bastet both have bare legs now, Chris Aqua also has a bare leg variant. So again, I'm not saying this because I think re-releases are bad. If anything, I would have loved re-releases kind of when I started collecting, because when I started collecting, I was already late to the game, and a lot of these binding and freeing figures that I really wanted were going for crazy prices in the aftermarket. And at the time, I was under the impression that binding didn't do re-releases. So I was like, if I don't get them now, I'm never gonna be able to get them, or they're just gonna get worse and worse and worse. You know what I mean? And then they all got re-releases. So I was like, where were you when I needed you most? Dang. His face looks really good. Why does his face feel like smaller than Luffy's though? Does that make sense? Is that canonically correct? He reminds me so much of Yami from Black Clover. I think it's just his smile. I don't know. Well, he looks like a lot like Yami in this resin statue. I've just been more cautious with what I order and when. Resin statues, the resin statue game hasn't really changed that much. Honestly, like at all, I don't think. I'm pretty much paying what I used to pay for shipping. The resin statues are priced pretty much what they used to be. So this is mostly like in terms of the PVC side. I don't know how to get this in his mouth. Basically, the gist of what I was getting at was like, I understand why a lot of people are quitting the figure collecting space. I think things have just been really getting out of hand. I'm definitely being more scarce with what I order if I do decide to order. But yeah, if things keep going up and up and up in terms of price, who knows what that means for the future for me. But at this point in time, I have a bunch of stuff that I have to unbox that's in my basement that I want to get through with you guys. So hopefully you guys stick around so I can show you how awesome some of the stuff that I bought is. And thanks for sticking with me while I unboxed 2 resin statues but said nothing about them. Okay, so here's all 3 of the 1/3 scale DiTaiShe One Piece men together. When I tell you the sheer size of these guys is insane, let me show you really quick what they look like in comparison to a 1/4 scale bunny figure. So here's Erina's 1/4 scale bunny figure. And here's these guys. Sanji's resin was actually the first 1/3 scale I've ever had, and since I have so many bunny figures, I wasn't prepared for the sheer size. I thought maybe like 1/3 scale is just a little bit bigger than a 1/4 scale. Absolutely not. They completely tower over my bunny figures, and they're super, super heavy. I don't think they're made like hollow. I know with some of these bigger scale figures, sometimes the companies will take some shortcuts by making the resins hollow. They all are super heavy, super thick, which means I think they're really good quality. And now I'm really excited to open my other DiTaiShe resin statues because all 3 of them are phenomenal. Luffy's resin statue is so cool. I mean, I think it's my favorite of the 3. I ordered the cloak version. I think maybe I would have preferred him without the cloak just because the cloak is so bulky, and honestly, like the way it attaches is really scary. I guess maybe the cloak does like add a little bit more of movement to this resin statue because again, it's pretty stagnant. It's just straight facing pose, but with the cloak you kind of have blowing in the wind, which adds a little bit more to the resin statue. But my favorite part about all of these resin statues is the shading. Like you see the shading on Luffy's chest, you see literal veins in his leg, which is a little bit freaky, but whatever. The base is also painted pretty well too. I don't really care that much about the base because my focus is on the resin itself, and my favorite part about every resin statue is the face. Luffy looks so beautiful. Same with Sanji. Sanji's skin in his resin statue is like a very beautiful tan shade, which makes his eyes really pop. And again, phenomenal shading on his muscles. And actually, like I mentioned before, he looks so much like Yami in this resin statue. Like I have my Yami resin statue from Vlad Collectibles right here. They look so alike. And I'm not just saying that because they're both voiced by the same guy in English, but I think it just looks absolutely beautiful. Everything about this resin statue is great. I did, when I was assembling him, perhaps I did break the resin statue. I really like them just kind of displayed on my floor like this. You kind of just walk in my room and you're like, whoa, big resin statues. And the great thing about DiTaiShe resin statues is that you can own these like dream resin statues, like huge scales of your favorite characters for pretty decent prices. I believe all of these were, I think, under $300, which is pretty insane considering they're 1/3 scale. I don't think any other company would offer that, so that's why I really like DiTaiShe, and that's why I have so many other pre-orders with them. So yeah, here is my current, basically, One Piece collection. I love them all so much, and I hope you guys like them too. But yeah, I'm super happy. Woo, yay! Thank you so much for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe if you'd like to as well, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!